great. Hey, Mark, I'm going to tap into you a little bit on this one because you should have some good background knowledge. But we were talking earlier about we think broadband fiber, but really that broadband fiber gets extended to so many other things, whether it's a Sky-Fi or a satellite or Wi-Fi downtown or whatever. We're walking around with our, watches and gadgets and phones and all these other things. What kinds of things have you seen, or what might we not think about that's also happened because we have fiber?
Well, I think when I look at the businesses that I work with, you hit the nail on the head, and to some extent when you mentioned Sky-Fi, because I think there was, which is a really interesting extension of our fiber network, and it's just one sort of example. But it goes back to that sort of comment I made earlier about, this sort of, we all expect in North Central Washington now to have this right to be able to get to the fiber network, right? And that was sort of been a contentious issue, actually, I think, for the last few years, particularly like I remember the controversy when there was this snow that took all the trees down up at near Lake Wenatchee, and there was how much hundreds of thousands of dollars are going to have to be spent to service 25 or 50 homes back up on the fiber network, but now we have these ways to extend the fiber network without actually laying down fiber on the ground, which has made fiber accessible to even greater points through services like the Sky-Fi network, and because we have, like you said, this difficult topography with canyons and things like that. So I think I don't know if this answers your question, but I think it's just interesting how by having that network, other businesses have looked for opportunities for how they can say, okay, well, let's make sure that service is available sort of throughout the area, and there are no holes in coverage anymore because we take for granted now the services that we can get off that fiber network, and it's a competitive disadvantage if you can't get to it. So I'm not sure that exactly answers your question.
But that's going on the right line, and actually it was brought up earlier, but the cost of said bandwidth hasn't been talked about a lot, but I'm sure everybody's up here nodding your head. If you were paying 4x for what you're using now, maybe you wouldn't be using it as much either. It's to the point where you're getting it for free in a lot of places because it's just an add-on. So Ross, can you think of anything in your world that's another neat trinket or another thing personally, professionally that you've been able to utilize not just the raw fiber for, but the actual bandwidth that it's providing for you?
Well, I'm kind of the poster child for Chelan PUD, and they haven't paid me, but they probably ought to, because I feel like I owe my career. And if you wouldn't mind putting up that one Microsoft slide, I worked for Microsoft as a contractor for a while, and they liked me, and they said, look, we won't even bother to interview you. We'll hire you straight up. Oh, cool, nice, appreciate that. And then they said, oh yeah, but you need to move to Redmond. And I said, thank you very much anyway. I won't be doing that. And this is what the guy said. That's a direct quote. Living in Wenatchee will be a career-limiting move. And so it's kind of been a personal challenge ever since to make sure that wasn't the case. And so I got to thank the PUD, both of them. I've lived on both sides of the river. But got to thank them both for enabling my career and allowing me to still be able to live here. So for me, it's not a little trinket. It's the whole meal deal. But to give you a specific, just last night, I loaded a 180 gigabyte database from my laptop in my living room. Like I said, I'm a software engineer, and I could not do that were it not for the speeds that we're able to get over our fiber network.
Yeah, that's a great point. Again, there's a lot of time equates to money type things probably in all of your businesses, whether that's a offsite backup or moving a big file from point A to point B that I think a lot of times we overlook. So Chris, you talked a little bit about how you use the fiber. Do you ever get involved with any of the watch out and don't dig it up, or to let somebody notify somebody that's there? Is that part of what?
Oh, absolutely. As the surveying and engineering world goes, that we're usually first on site to map something or design something, and so we're pretty entailed in where those are located, yeah.
So that's even was that a kind of a new aspect or a new angle to your business? Did it help expand your business? Is there anything?
Yeah, it did actually, and I'm just trying to remember way back when a lot of this fiber network was being put in across the state and locally. I got the joy of traveling around the state, surveying in a bunch of these fiber networks and the actual hut sites at most of the substations where they're located. So knew it was coming, and then I think it wasn't, like I said, until early 2000s we actually got hooked up to it. So yeah, it absolutely has expanded our business.
How about you, Martin, when you think about kind of business expansion, are you seeing any new products out there that we're able to now utilize, or new services that you can offer? You see anything on the horizon that we should know about? Is there anything for any other entrepreneur that might be in the room going, hey, I might be one of those that could use the wholesale or utilize? What are we not thinking of in ways to leverage this that maybe hasn't already been brought up?
Well, one thing that we haven't talked about, but really is just an extension of the tools that are already out there is, so it used to be that the thing that in our offices that we depended on most, first it was like we always wanted to make sure the dial tone was there, because we expected 99.9% reliability on the phone. If we didn't have that, and you can't make a phone call, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Now what is it, right? I mean, if the internet's down, you're like, it's like people just walk away from their desks, right? They have this computer there, and like the computer is like, it's like, it must not work if the internet's down, right? And literally, but you think about it, really, how many of the things that you do on your computer are dependent on internet connectivity? The majority of it, right? So that's not, I mean, that's the reality of it. And it's interesting to me how many businesses I go into say, well, our business depends on the internet, right? And yet they haven't necessarily thought about putting redundancy in that internet connection when it's really cost effectively available now. And that was one of the things that I think we were sort of alluding to before. There used to be a fiber network, but then if you wanted to cost effectively there wasn't really a cost effective option for having redundancy to that connection. You have to go buy what was considered like if you've heard the term, a T1 circuit for this comparable speeds, which was very expensive, in the hundreds of dollars a month to just for backup services. And now we have these we not only have a single usually way of connecting in our office, we have alternate methods that are coming into our office, whether it's the fiber network or it's Charter's cable or it's Sky-Fi. And so there's this tool out there that I think still a lot of businesses aren't aware of, even at your residence now, where you can pretty cost effectively have what's considered failover for about the same price that you're paying or less than your primary service. So you don't have to go down. I mean, and really, if you have, and knock on wood, but the fiber network is pretty rock solid as it is anyway, right? But for those couple of times that it blips off, there's an inexpensive option now to make sure it doesn't blip off.
So you're telling me when I'm watching Netflix and it pauses, I could actually roll over and not have to wait, is what you're telling me?
Well, that's a different conversation, but yeah.
All right, that's a great point.